Where to leave off? Oh yeah, solipsism versus empathy. So back to the topic at hand. Sorry guys, lost my train of thought with that amazing super chat from Dev and this guy Mig2. Empathy. You know how women say they're the empathic gender? I have more empathy, I have more emotional intelligence than you, and I'm here to tell you that's absolute bullshit. Women are the least empathic gender, but they think they do. Remember what I told you before about self-delusion? Yeah. So when you think, like, how can they be empathic? Like, how many women have broken up their marriages, ruined their kids' lives because they're not happy? You know, I'm not happy. I want a no-fault divorce. I'm sure you guys know all this. I'm not even going to give you a preface. If you really don't know what I'm talking about, let me know in the chat and I'll give you a couple minutes spoiler. But yeah, but they think they're perfectly empathetic. You know why? Solipsism. Her emotions, her personal self is what matters here. How does this divorce affect me? Well, I'm not happy. And so if I leave him, I will be happy. And if I'm not happy, the kids aren't happy. If I'm not happy, there's no way he's happy. If I'm happy, everybody's happy. And if I'm not happy, nobody's happy. It's not that she assumes, like, lording over you like a dictator. My happiness will be the happiness of the realm. No, 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 no. She literally thinks that her emotional state is everybody's emotional state. You ever see that projection is perception thing? That's kind of where it comes from. So from that perspective, it looks perfectly empathetic. Absolutely. Oh, this is totally empathetic. I feel what everybody else is feeling all the time. I've got great intuition. You know what that is? That's a girl projecting her emotional state onto everybody else. And of course, what do you think that's going to look like but like emotional omnipotence? Of course it looks like that. I understand what everybody's feeling, which just so happens to be exactly what I'm feeling at any given time. So they aren't empathetic. You know who is empathetic? Men. Put yourself in another man's shoes. How many men can say that? And they all do that. In fact, we do it to our detriment. Think about those times when you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk to that girl because my wife will think it's cheating. It'll piss her off. Or, oh, I don't want to go out with you guys drinking. My wife's going to be so pissed. Every day, unattractive men are putting themselves in the shoes of their wife, if anything, amplifying the emotions that she would probably feel towards an event and changing their behaviors based on it. That's empathy. Men put themselves in another man's shoes. Women assumes everybody's wearing her shoes. Does that make sense? It's not like being whipped. It's just picturing yourself as another person in the situation. In any sense, it's actually kind of weird because narcissism runs counter to empathy as well. If you have a narcissistic disorder, there is no other person to empathize with. They're not human. They're just archetypes, right? But most people aren't pathologically narcissistic. So they're back to a certain extent, and then the less narcissistic they are, the more empathy they have. Now, obviously, if you want to have like a good, healthy mental awareness of the world around you, you want to have, I don't even want to say a balance, but you need to have it calibrated to where you have narcissism to the point where it benefits you. You know, the dark triad traits. But enough empathy that you don't alienate everybody around you to the point that nothing becomes sustainable. Okay, say what you will about narcissistic personality disorder. They don't have long-term relationships. They always have like a timeline attached to them. If you don't believe me, go look at some guy that I just did an advertisement on calling himself the president of the manosphere. Affable, charming, nobody's doing it to a convention more than twice in a row, right? So yeah, empathy and solipsism aren't the same thing. And a lot of guys assume solipsism is selfishness, and it's not. Solipsism is self-involvement. Everything revolves around self. It's not the same as narcissism, because narcissism is that you are the center of the world and nothing else around you exists. Solipsism, it works within a borderline environment where you're the main female actress in the director's play and you want to do things to make them happy, but everything you do is designed around how does this make me look? What can I do? How do I avoid things? And then you end up with, you know, avoiding rejection, not making first moves, sabotaging things where there's a chance you could be blamed, all this stuff. And it all ties in, right? So solipsism versus empathy. Now, what's the takeaway for you guys? Well, it's mostly awareness. Once you understand that all that empathic stuff that women are doing, it's more so just a way of them telling on themselves. And this is great. Just use that information. If she assumes you're angry, it's probably because she's angry. If she assumes you're cheating on her a lot, then chances are she's probably cheating on you. In fact, that's probably the easiest one for single guys. If a girl is hypersensitive about you cheating, look through her phone. I bet you anything you're going to find a couple eggplants and some peaches. Just saying. Just saying. Now, you're ideally want to be empathic so you can understand this stuff. But hey, you're on this cast because you aren't empathic to understand this stuff. So here we are. We're going to move on now. Later, boys.